Welcome to TFW Live, the best kept secret in fantasy football, where we keep that week one feeling going all year long. This is episode 306. We'll be doing a 12-team half-point PPR mock draft along with Ahaan, Rungta. Very excited for today's episode, and support for TFW Live is brought to you by Manscaped, the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Their products are precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped's Performance Package is the ultimate in men's hygiene bundle. You can join the 6 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. 20% off, free worldwide shipping. Just use the code TFWMAN at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code TFWMAN. I'm Austin Sear and joined here by my best friends, Johnny Game Time Mix and Big Travie. You can see them there. And, of course, what up to you, Whisper Nation. Great to have you with us. Jersey J in the house. Don Tivis. We got Nemo Ladies, Classic Mike, Ronald Calla, Albert joining us this Monday. This is awesome. What is up to all of you? And a lot of gratitude to our members on YouTube who support the show now through a monthly subscription. Shout out here to Pizza Belly, Don Caples, Bailey Ziegler, Kevin Dobby, Nick, Brett Zabo, John Credit, Eric Lorenzen, Donnie Tubbs, Jersey J, and the Hanimal. And if you'd like to join our growing list of YouTube members, just click join next to the video. Shout out as well to our patrons who have supported the show throughout. We've got big updates coming to our Patreon this month. Stay tuned. And thank you to those who subscribed or followed us on social media this week. We got Ben Unko, Stephen Reed, Christopher Thomas, Queen Roxanne, CJF, Will Haberman, Tim Shipman, Pete Riddles, riddle me that, Jordan, The Thinking Fan, CW, Half Dan, Makas Ben Dover, Ches, Riley Dynasty, FF, Jack and Forth, Josh G, Quicksmith, Michael, Isaac, CRSPNDK, Eric Schlinkler, Goodrich, Rich Benny, Black Saber Jr., Caballo Blanco, Philip Robinson, Black Zombie Knight 87, TBMD, Bardo Tripper, Rafi 69 Bomb. There you are, Gronkowski.
Yeah.
Afton Bow Madsen, Let's React. Oh boy, will we. Black Maura, Travis, Girasira, Eric Torres, Keanu 6, and David Gala. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Whisper Nation. As we mentioned on today's episode, we're joined by a very special guest. We've got betting and analytics guru over at Roto Underworld. Warm welcome for Ahaan Rungta. Welcome, my dude.
What's up, Ahaan?
Bro, guys, I wasn't planning on getting that fired up, man, but we got all these great intros.
Dude,
let's keep it going.
Yeah.
Well, now, way to intro here now to our man, Ahaan Rungta. How are you doing? Thanks for joining us.
So I said, what's up, guys? I have no idea if my audio is good enough for it to notice that I was actually whispering.
There you go. We appreciate it. Yeah.
Hell of a start from me, but not too bad, guys. Thanks for having me on. Been watching for a few weeks now. Found out about you all recently, so it's an honor to be on.
Appreciate that. Yeah, we appreciate having you watch us, and we appreciate having you on here, man. It's going to be a blast.
As Jersey J says here, you sound amazing. And what we like to do is kick the sounds off, go in with I didn't mean to click on sexy voice.
Yes, let's go, dude.
Yeah, you snuck that one in there, and the fingers just happened. What we like to do here, Ahaan, is to do our series of questions so that not just us, but Whisper Nation can get to know you a little bit better. Some fantasy questions, some fantasy adjacent questions. We'll jump into that now if you're ready.
Let's do it.
And we're going to jump into it if you're not ready too. That's just how we're going to go. Just kidding. What year did you start playing fantasy football?
It was 2016. So I'm a young man, fairly recently.
Do you root for your NFL team or your fantasy team more?
Okay, so guys, I'm a Patriots fan, so this has been pretty easy for me for the most part. My real life team first. I feel like we always have high stakes. Last year was a true test. I still rooted for my Patriots a little more, especially because that was a true test because you don't roster Patriots players from last year on your fantasy team unless it's Jacoby Myers. So
let's go, Jacoby.
Still the Patriots more, but this is what I do.
Favorite fantasy. So that makes sense. Favorite fantasy player all time.
Again, a young an answer here, but I have to go Cooper Kupp just because I've been so ahead on him. Last year, I owned him in all but one league. It's the highest. I don't go like 90% exposure on players often, but I did last year on Cooper Kupp.
Oh, that's a year to do it.
Yeah. Hey, but when you do it with Cooper Kupp.
Let's go. How about a player that's burned you the most, Ahaan?
Michael Thomas. I feel like it's only.
That's a good one.
I've only rostered him a few times, and they've all come recently. And the one time I do bench him, he drops 30 points. So just go with him. Just a little salty. I mean, most of it's my fault, but still.
What's your favorite live draft moment?
I haven't been doing live drafts that often until the last couple of years. Got to go with Scott Fishbowl. Finally participating in the Scott Fishbowl this year.
Nice, congrats.
Thank you. It was absolutely lit. Shout out Scott Fish. He's the GOAT.
Yeah,
that dude's awesome.
That entire draft was. I'm going to cheat and just use that entire draft day. I was there for 8 hours. Enjoyed every single minute of it.
That's awesome.
What's a sound that you love?
The real answer is Elvis Presley's voice doing literally anything. But
wow, dude,
I love it. Yeah.
But to keep it fantasy football themed, you know when you draft on ESPN and they say you're on the clock, it's the most annoying thing in the world, but it gets your heart racing. Yeah. I'm gonna go with that.
But when you're on the clock,
but who doesn't want to be on the clock? Like that's the best feeling. Yeah. Favorite swear word?
I'm gonna go Ronald Jones.
That is.
That's a great unique answer. That's great.
What is the most leagues you've ever played in one year?
This number is an ascending number every year. Last year, not counting like Underdog, DFS, whatnot, redraft leagues. Last year it was 6. This year it's going to be so far at least 12. So each year it's going
double down, huh?
Yeah.
Most exciting fantasy football moment.
Last year, in my home league, the semifinals, Monday Night Football, Lamar Jackson diarrhea moment against the Browns. I was down heavy going into Monday Night Football. I had only Lamar Jackson. Before he went into the locker room, I was down 2. Touchdown pass to Marquise Brown. I walk it off, and then I win the championship next.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's awesome. Favorite game day beverage?
Tepid water. I'm the kind of guy that can't, do something too fancy, alcoholic, etc., especially while watching a game that means a lot to me. Can't do it. Yeah. Tepid water, nice and easy.
What's your favorite movie theater snack?
M&M's, the whole bag. Just that.
Kickoff's in 2 minutes. You're still deciding your flex in your number 1 league. Do you go with your gut or your weekly rankings?
Ooh. As someone who uses gut a lot for weekly rankings, I've gotten burned a lot for just like going weekly rankings and then switching up last minute due to injury stuff, overthinking the matchup. I have to say gut at this point because that's what's worked for the most part. My gut's pretty analytical for the most part anyway. If I did the work and if I created a gut, got to stick with it. Stop changing your damn mind last minute.
Yeah. So our last one here. What is your favorite position to draft from in redraft leagues here in 2022? Saying this as we get our draft board brought up on screen.
This year, it's got to be 102. I'm getting my overall number 1 player in fantasy football this year at the 102 almost every single time. It's Christian McCaffrey. That's my RB1. I actually think it's quite easy. You should take Christian McCaffrey 101 for a variety of reasons. But since I'm almost getting him every single time at the 102 when I'm doing underdog drafts, I'll go 102. You get the early pick, and I'm getting my number 1 guy anyway.
There you go. You got it. Thanks for blessing us with the answers to all of those questions. Great to get to know you a little bit. And let's get to know who everyone here is going to be picking up in the draft board. Johnny, Travis, we ready to get this bad boy rolling?
Absolutely, man.
Hey, let's ride.
Let's ride. Oh, I gotta get the image here. What did we just say?
Let's ride.
There we go. Yeah, thank you. All right, I'm on the clock, and this has been a really interesting year with not a clear consensus of right at the top. Ahaan, you mentioned how you wanted to be taking Christian McCaffrey. I've heard Big Travie say the same thing. I'm going to go ahead and pick up Christian McCaffrey in this 12-team half-point PPR mock draft. Can I hear your take a little bit, though, on this 1-2 punch? You've been going 2 because you've liked CMC to fall to you there, but that means that someone could do what I just did and take CMC 1. How do you feel if Jonathan Taylor falls to you at that 2 spot?
I'm pivoting to Justin Jefferson. I'm fine with Jonathan Taylor falling a little bit more. I like what the Colts did this offseason, getting in Matt Ryan, drafting Alec Pierce, who I like quite a bit anyway. I'm gonna take my selection first. I like what the Colts did with this offense from the football standpoint. Jonathan Taylor teams are going to be zoned in on him a little more this year. Alec Pierce is, should I say, that guy. Michael Pittman's a superstar in the making. This offensive game should be a little more balanced with Matt Ryan instead of freaking Carson Wentz. The touchdowns are going to go down. McCaffrey, he is what he is. Every time he touches the ball, he produces fantasy points at an elite level. Decent quarterback in Baker Mayfield this year, so I'm fine with Taylor falling, and Justin Jefferson's my wide receiver 1.
I like it. Somebody has their volume on, and that's the first time I have heard when someone misses a pick, they yell, "Oh no!" That was classic. Sorry, so I wasn't laughing at your answer. I was laughing at that because I had not heard that before. And it sounds like Smitty's about to do the same thing.
Yeah, so we're going to go ahead and tap this unmake the sound button on that one. Should be rad on this. I think it's in the top right-hand corner. Yeah, for the sound effect.
I think it might be Ahaan's. I don't know. Yeah, it's just in the middle of the two, between the bell and the moon.
I have clicked that button.
Nice.
Yeah.
So really good. You said Jonathan Taylor. Where does Jonathan Taylor fall for you? In a half point or a standard league?
103. I'll take him 103. Okay. Yeah.
Travi, how are you feeling right now at the top of the draft? We got Scott coming in saying Henry is the number 1. And in standard, I don't got an issue with that. If we're going to say injury concern is the only concern, that stands for a lot of players here going in the first round. But we're not. We're in a half-point PPR. You in our league of record, which our chat has been getting active with, are blessed with the first overall pick, meaning you get to pick where you draft from. Can you inform us where your headspace has been at right now?
Yeah, I think it's typically going to be at the top, probably 101, just because I want to be able to control my destiny. You know, I liked what Ahaan says there about 102, but then you're still, like you said, Austin, you're leaving it up a little bit to chance. So I'd keep the 101. The only reason I'd be tempted not to is because I do think there's different variations of going with one of the top 3 wide receivers or one of the top 2 running backs. So going in the 1-5 actually means, the top 5 means you'll probably get a better, like if you go 4 or 5, you get a better shot at somebody falling in the second round to you. So that's why I could be interested in doing that. But I think in order, in our league of record, it's a standard league. Running backs are very, very valued. It's 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, so the scarcity is real. I've been finding myself continuously wanting to get the 101, so I make sure I get one of those 2 running backs.
Johnny, where are you at on this conversation?
Well, I'm picking second to last, so I'm probably going to be at the second half of the draft. Is that what you're referring to? Is like where I'm picking, or are you talking about CMC versus Jonathan Taylor?
First, I want to know about CMC Jonathan Taylor. Where are you at on this conversation?
So I actually do think that CMC, after reevaluate, I know we had this conversation a couple weeks ago. I still think Dalvin Cook finishes as the 101, but for running backs. But I do think that when you're talking about CMC, here I'm gonna draft real quick. When you're talking about CMC, when he is on the field and playing, and that's what you're drafting these players for, he is like 4 points on average. It was either 4 or 6 points I read on average better than the next best running back. And so when you're heading that much of an advantage, it does like that's what you take. That's one of those points where you're like, oh, this is why you would take him at the 101, because there are a lot of running backs that in theory you could make an argument for taking at the 101, but it's something like that you want to be able to be like, oh, this is why you would take it and really swing, because you're really swinging for a home run there because you have the 101 pick. So that's kind of what you want to do in some cases. There's also the other case, where it's like, hey, just try to pick a guy that's going to finish top 5, so that if you do that, I think Jonathan Taylor is a lock there. So that's why it's like, if the argument of someone saying I want to take Jonathan Taylor is because I have less injury risk and I think he's going to finish top 5, okay, I feel that.
Johnny, staying here with you, I want to kind of get to your other question you brought up of making other picks in that first round, not somebody who has a top of the draft selection. So you're selecting like where you are in Tolton. You're second to last. Yours, one and truly here, is selecting dead last. So you and I are in similar positions, Johnny.
Right.
And, I've been drafting what I think is going to be what we have left over to choose from. And I think that's probably like pick 7, 8, 9, 10 is where we probably ended up getting stuck somewhere in there. I've found if you get comfortable taking a Joe Mixon, or if you can bring yourself to take, if you get excited about like a DeAndre Swift in the first, or one of these receivers, it's really not that big of a deal. But and what is your take though here, drafting say like a Joe Mixon or a Devontae Adams in that first round? Would you find yourself maybe reaching for a Saquon? Is Aaron Jones going to bump up at all? Where do you kind of find yourself in that? Not at the turn in the first round, but after the middle.
I do think Aaron Jones is like one of the running backs I'm targeting there. I think Javonte Williams, with the information that we have, uncovered over the last couple of weeks with, rumors and stuff, I do think Javonte does have that, top 5 upswing. So for me, it's either like you have to go with the running backs that either have the top 5 upswing, because at that point you're picking behind the wave. So you're kind of trying to catch up, and that's not always the best way to play. Now, I do think that there are a couple of players that grabbing there, I think, that do have top 5 upside. But then that's when I would try to like potentially pivot to say, okay, what wide receivers are available where I can potentially gain an advantage there, or maybe like take a Kelsey if Kelsey is still available, because Kelsey is a positional advantage. So
that segues into my next spot here with Kelsey, and I'm going to bring it over to my selections here, and I want to tag in Ahaan here. And it connects with Johnny, what you kind of just said, Jersey J here, CMC and Pitts being the biggest butts along with CD. The CMC bus talk is just, if you think he's going to get hurt, fine, but we're going to put that notion to bed for the sake of this conversation. Pitts, though, is an actual interesting one. And I selected the 101 spot here because I wanted to play around with the turn when it came here and seeing what guys were available. In my mind, Travi, you turned me on to this 2 years ago. Selecting one of those positional tight ends, one of those difference makers at tight ends at the 101 turn here coming for the second, third round actually makes kind of a lot of sense. Getting a positional advantage in the form of a Mark Andrews or a Kyle Pitts. A couple years ago, that was a George Kittle, pick up there. This year, though, Ahaan, I wanted to know where you're looking at if you're sitting in the 101 spot when it comes to you in the second, third round. How are you approaching those two picks?
I'm getting a lot of Kyle Pitts just because he's a generational football player, and just this whole idea of like forcing yourself to get a positional advantage at tight end. I think it's even less big of a deal this year. If you're forcing yourself to take Andrews there, I think Andrews is being slightly overdrafted. I love Mark Andrews, but he's being slightly overdrafted.
Is he the 3 for you?
He's the 3 for me. It's Kelsey and then Pitts and then Mark Andrews for me. But I'm getting a lot of Pitts just because, yes, we get the positional advantage there, but also I think he could legitimately outscore most wide receivers as well. Mm-hmm. The volume's going to be there. The touchdowns are going to go up. Getting the positional advantage just means that he's definitely going to be worth the price that he's at right now. But I'm not reaching for Mark Andrews if I don't get Pitts. I'm fine with waiting for the middle rounds. I have a couple of guys that I can get in the final rounds at tight end that I think are going to crush their ADP as well. So I'm not panicking if I miss out on my guy Pitts.
I hear you on this one. You know, Scott coming in, basically echoing some of the messages we're speaking right now. Statistically, taking an elite tight end in the 2 through 4th round improves your chances of winning. Yeah, getting an elite tight end just improves your chances of winning, especially if they've done it at the clip Travis Kelce has done over the last 7-8 years. And we saw some data actually on this most recently. Travi, who I forgot the guest that we had just brought on here, but had talked about where you would have advantages going 0 RB, selecting your quarterbacks and your tight ends.
Yeah, so it was Hayden Winks from Underdog that pointed out that basically if you are going to go 0 RB or even hero RB, the idea is to scoop away some of these onesie positions. You know, you definitely want to take a Pitts or you know, and personal preference is there. I think with Ahaan saying with Pitts versus Andrews, he's ready to punt the position if he doesn't get Pitts, and I could see that. But I think you want to scoop up a quarterback. You want to scoop up a tight end that's a lead at some point if you're going to go maybe one single QB or 0 RB.
And I got to make my second selection here. Man, this RB dead zone, we talked a lot about how this doesn't really exist so much this year. It's certainly gotten some feelings of existence to me. Ahaan, what's your feeling? What do you, just the whole panel, what do you guys think about the RB dead zone that's beginning to emerge right now?
Antonio Gibson should not be in the RB dead zone. I don't care about Brian Robinson as much as the rest of the world does.
Get the fuck out of here, Brian Robinson.
Antonio Gibson's still much better.
You don't matter.
Like, what are we doing here? Are people really worried that Antonio Gibson won't see the field as a running back? What is this?
What is this? Right, last year, it's the opposite of what we were dealing with last year. Last year, we were told he's got a broken shin and he's not going to see the field. 20 touches a game later, all he is an RB1 back end. Now he's healthy. He's good to go. He's 24 years old, coming off nothing but RB1 seasons throughout his career with good metrics. And now we're saying he's not going to see the field at all. Like, what?
Yeah, this definitely makes. Like, I was thinking about this on the ride over here. There are like every year there's like 3 or 4 things that happen where at the end of the year you're like, I should have known that was most likely. You know what? No, it's like no. But for example,
you should have known that was just bullshit.
No, like Cooper, that's what you're saying. Cooper Kupp being like a top 5 wide receiver last year.
I tried to tell you, yeah.
No, I was on that. I was with you. You can back me up on that. I was with that. I had Cooper Kupp on several teams last year, including my Scott Fish team. So I was definitely on that. But then and then you look at like Jonathan Taylor as well. Like Jonathan Taylor, we should have known like there was going to be massive RB1 upside. Like he was the guy to select even 2 years ago when he was in the 3rd round. It was like that was
so back to Antonio Gibson,
right? So going back to Antonio Gibson, I feel like Gibson is going to be one of those guys that's going to finish top 12. And we will look back and we're like, why didn't of course that was going to happen. Why did we talk ourselves off that ledge? I think that is one of the storylines for one of the players this year. That we're going to look back and definitely say that.
John, are you not concerned at all, though, that Brian Robinson just picks up the goal line work?
There's a
J.D. McKissic maintains the passing down, and that means that Antonio Gibson is one of those dearly cherished running backs who doesn't catch passes and doesn't get goal line work.
But here's what I do know, and what does give me confidence. Let's say we do go back to the original message of, hey, I want Robinson and Gibson to be the Thunder, Lightning, the Williams, and I'm blanking on the other Stewart, Jonathan Stewart. Yeah, and it was like, well, guess what? Both those guys were top 12 running backs that year, or top 15 running backs that year. So, and guess what? Like the position that Gibson would play would be the one that was the that you would want. It was the higher
well, I totally hear you, but in this metaphor, it's not just thunder and lightning, it's thunder, lightning, and rain. And that's JD McKissic who comes in as another element.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not solely JD McKissick is not going to take over the complete that's not going to happen. Also, look at last year. We always it's Carson Wentz going over there. Carson Wentz will be able to move the ball a lot more, so they'll be in scoring position a lot more. But guess what? They're going to run just like they did in Indianapolis more when they get in the red area. And so I still think that Gibson, when we look back and we're going to be like, oh, Gibson again, over 10 rushing touchdowns because that's what he always does. And then it's going to be like, well, we should have known that.
Staying with this kind of the dead zone one here, I want to flesh this subject out a little bit. Travi, you went ahead and just avoided this. You got Amon-Ra St. Brown there in round 5 and Lamar Jackson round 6. You know, you kind of took the end of, or you got Cam Akers in there. And then in this next round, like A.J. Dillon, Antonio Gibson, Kareem Hunt, J.K. Dobbins, and then maybe a little bit into that other round, Montgomery, Jacobs, maybe Akers. Maybe Breece Hall. I mean, I think Breece Hall and Travis Etienne are kind of in a little bit different one, but maybe not. I guess I kind of want to just fully flesh out this dead zone as we're moving through it.
Yeah,
right
there's
now.
guys here that I'm just inclined to not touch at this point, and fade for different situations. So for me, Jacobs, Mitchell, not an option in that area. I've been kind of fading Breece Hall as of late for just taking Michael Carter at a cheaper value later. You know, just investing in the overall offense and like the offensive line play and going with the guy who we've actually seen as the pass catcher in the offense. So I take Cam Akers. I know it's a polarizing player because he could be dust now, but I just think the offense is one to invest in. You know, I think the Rams are one to trust in, and everybody wants to be like, well, he said McVay wants 2 backs. So, well, I don't know if Darrell Henderson's health will let him do that. I don't know if Darrell Henderson's play style will let him do that. And I think that he's always wanted to have 1 back. Now, Charles Robinson quoted him last week. He's a insider over at Yahoo. He was saying that, you know, what happened with Akers and what happened with some of the backs last year, actually with Gurley, what happened with Gurley scared McVay and genuinely, and maybe he does want to actually kind of use a little bit more of a committee. I'm still
really just Todd Gurley's degenerative knees based on more volume in Sean McVay's
kind of spooked him.
System. Spooked him. So
yeah,
okay,
spooked him a little bit, and so
maybe
that maybe there is some committee value. I think the problem is that, you know, we've already seen Kyron Williams, this smaller back, you know, kind of get hurt, dinged up. We've got Henderson always hurt, kind of situation, soft tissue. I love Henderson as a late round dart throw, but I think Akers, you know, playing for double-digit upside or touchdown upside with Akers is a smart thing, especially as an RB2. So in that area, I'd be willing to kind of take him. And then it's like guys like A.J. Dillon and Pollard are sneaking their way up, as we saw in this draft, 5th round, 6th round. And I just think that there are worlds where the guys ahead of them make it to where their ceiling's capped. I think they'll still have some good value, but their ceiling could be a little bit more capped than some of the other guys. So that's kind of why they're in that range there. Dobbins is a hard one to project right now because maybe he's rushing himself back. It was a pretty gruesome injury, but Gus is the length of time Gus may be away actually makes Dobbins a start of the year guy. You know, maybe he's a guy that's going to get a lot of volume to start the year because of where Gus is at. So there's just question marks, you know, a ton of question marks with these guys in this range. And that's kind of what the dead zone is kind of creating as itself this year.
Let me ask you guys, do you have any more confidence with the tweet message that we got today saying that the Raiders could let go of Kenyon Drake? They could cut him. So that's got to give you confidence that they're going to keep Josh Jacobs, because they're not going to cut Drake and then trade Jacobs away and only leave themselves Amir White.
It makes me confident that they have 7 running backs now instead of 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, there's a lot of action going on there. I mean, Amir Abdullah, welcome back to the NFL, I guess. Zamir White being more involved. Josh Jacobs there. It seems like they're really getting this. We don't have a name for the teams that go and roster like a literal barracks full of running backs, but we have these squads, right? Like the Patriots, the Dolphins, the 49ers, the guys we just mentioned. Like they end up having the Raiders, they end up having like 5 halfbacks on the team now. It's not like 2 or 3, it's like 4 or 5.
Yeah. Ahaan, you're familiar with the Patriots. I mean, that's your squad. How do you feel that this new style Patriots of the West, we'll call them, in Vegas is going to work out? I mean, not even just the backs, so many weapons, right, that they have in the passing game too, to be able to take away from maybe some of the upside for Josh Jacobs or anybody else there.
I'm fading the Raiders so hard this year.
What? Whoa. For you.
Is there evidence that Josh McDaniels is good at anything?
You won a playoff game with Tebow.
Okay, that's a good point, actually.
I love that.
There hasn't been evidence that Josh McDaniels
A long time.
is an offensive mastermind.
That is a fair point. That is a fair point.
He made Jonnu Smith the most irrelevant tight end in football while with the Patriots. When Jonnu Smith was analytically one of the best red zone tight ends with the Titans.
Truth.
He said that we're going to do 2 tight end sets for the Raiders this year, right? We're going to do 2 tight end sets with Darren Waller and Foster Moreau. After he just made Jonnu Smith irrelevant. I don't trust this guy. He brought in Brandon Bolden. He did. Belichick so bad. I'm fading the Raiders very hard. They're in a tough division. They have the worst quarterback in the division.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Easily.
Derek Carr.
Derek Carr is the worst quarterback in that division, and that's not a hard call.
Wow.
And they could have the worst head coach in the division.
Ooh.
Derek Carr.
Wow. I love this
Derek Carr was top 5 last year in passing yards. In passing yards and air yards.
Andy Dalton was a top 5 quarterback in fantasy one year.
I'm shaking in my boots.
Dude, you don't believe in what Devontae Adams saying?
He's not saying Derek Carr's fine, but are you going to put Derek Carr above Russell Wilson, above Justin Herbert, or above Patrick Mahomes? Of course not. No.
Maybe if
it's a good point.
Maybe if I'm doing a little drinking.
There you go.
I'm on the tepid water diet today, though.
Oh, no. I just selected the wrong player. All right. Well, maybe
You've been doing a little bit of drinking or what?
I wish. No, well, the time was ticking down, and so I clicked over to
ran out of it.
Damn it, dude. I was gonna take Lazard. I'm coming around on Lazard, dude.
Alan Lazard, man, the final 5 weeks of the season last year with Devontae Adams, number 6 overall wide receiver.
So, Austin, remember when I was talking about there are players that I think we're going to look back and be like, oh, that was so obvious. I think Lazard is another one where it's so obvious that we should be all aboard the Lazard because look, Devontae Adams was going in the first round last year. Before that, he's always had some wide receiver, and it's not like Alan Lazard hasn't scored a lot of touchdowns. I know you broke down this. You did a great job because you obviously convinced me on our last show. But I just think that at the end of the day, at the end of the season, Lazard will be another one of those players that we look back and we're like, oh, damn, right there in the 7th, 8th round, we could have had, a wide receiver that's probably going to go in the top 3 rounds next year. Well, if Aaron Rodgers doesn't retire.
That's actually an interesting point before we get further away from this. Johnny, you had started to mention it in our previous conversation here, but guys that could just, our evaluation on them could just change in a moment's notice if we just saw one thing be different. Travis, you talked about Cam Akers. For me, if we see one fucking play out of Cam Akers do something good, that everything is different. Then it's you got the lead back on a great offense for a head coach who knows how to produce fantasy scoring running backs. Even if he goes and has a more diversified touch load, it's still a good thing. If I see Cam Akers get some work, then that's it. If I see Alan Lazard actually, get 8 targets, 8 catches and does something good, it's that's enough. A couple of these things that are just kind of one play away from it changing. Another one, Chase Edmonds. I feel like we're sleeping a little bit on Chase Edmonds, and I'm super guilty of that too. But Chase Edmonds, he's got some real pop in the way he can play the game. He right now is leading the backfield for what is a true mystery box offense, but it's got a lot of sex appeal for it over there in Miami. there's a lot of good things that could happen. And if those good things, even like if 70% of them come through, Chase Edmonds, I mean, what round did you get him in here, Travi? The 7th round?
Yeah, 7th. He's consistently been one of the more cheaper guys you can draft that projects to at least get a crack at being the starter. What that workload will look like, we're not sure, and there are concerns, but that's why it's baked into that 7th round price.
Yep.
Who's wrong here saying, are we pulling at straws? Lazard?
No, he's talking to Scott. I think they're bickering back and forth in the chat.
Lovely.
Yeah. Just Tony Raymer here. He comes in just as much as a chance. No one in Green Bay goes over 800 yards also, in my opinion. That offense is going to go through the running backs. I mean, that's something that's definitely my concern with Lazard and some of the other guys is that the backs will be the focal point. But to Austin's point, and to my point about Cam Akers, there's definite touchdown upside for a Rodgers wide receiver. I mean, we saw James Jones off the street do it. Robert Tonyan a couple years ago do it. I think there's a possibility that, Lazard could be the dirty work guy in the red zone and get the touchdown.
Davante Adams has more seasons of 10-plus touchdowns than he does 1,000 yards by quite a bit.
Yeah.
Davante Adams has 3 seasons of getting 1,000 yards or more, but like 5 seasons of 10 touchdowns or more. So to Travi, your point there, Aaron Rodgers does look to have touchdown favorites, and he's a guy who can force his hand. And maybe that ends up being Tonyan. Maybe that ends up being Lazard. Maybe it ends up being Sammy Watkins or Randall Cobb. But
especially with the conversation that's gone over the last week about him calling out the rookie wide receivers or the young wide receivers. Like there are only there's Cobb, Lazard, and I don't even know if we can even throw Sammy in there as a vet because he hasn't been there so long. But basically, like, that's the end of the list for the people that weren't being called out by Aaron Rodgers. So it's like, yeah, that's why I just think at the end of the day, that's what we're going to look back and say about Lazard and where he is. I think it's totally worth the draft risk and capital to take Lazard.
Oh, Tony coming here. Welcome to the show, Tony. Rodgers isn't that Rodgers anymore. This is the back-to-back MVP. I don't know what you're talking about right now.
Put some respect on his name, Tony.
Ahaan, who are you feeling? We talked about the rookie wide receivers, rookie running backs. They've become more viable in their year one seasons as of late, but there's obviously still risk. We haven't gotten to see how they perform. We don't know how they're going to fit in with their team. We've never seen them take an NFL snap yet. With that said, we have a lot of examples over the last 5, 6, 7 years. I think going back to like 2014 there with Odell Beckham and Mike Evans just a little bit before, when I saw really the tide start to turn. Who are you excited about at the rookie position, wide receivers first, and then we can touch on running backs? What rookie wide receivers are you most excited about this year?
I'm glad you asked. My brand seemingly has been rookie wide receivers. Each year there seems to be somebody that just outdoes their ADP by a lot. The DK Metcalf year, I was all over why did DK Metcalf fall to the second round of the draft. I was on that with A.J. Brown as well, but I was a little more worried with him going to the Titans. But with DK Metcalf, I was all over that. This year, Chris Olave has a real chance to be the number 1 rookie wide receiver, is given the opportunity. Like you said, a lot of risk going in, your first NFL season in general for anybody, even first-round guys. There are a lot of good ones. Jameson Williams isn't playing at the beginning. I think he's the most talented receiver of the class. Drake London is in a Falcons offense. Who knows what exactly that will look like? Cordell Patterson might still be, the scrimmage yard king, even with Kyle Pitts there. Who knows? But with Chris Olave, he's really good. He's with a quarterback that will throw the ball whether or not he knows where it's going. And Michael Thomas is banged up. Jarvis Landry, who knows whether he's still got it or not. A lot of question marks there. You take Chris Olave, it's good value. He's going over a lot of veterans who shouldn't be going ahead of him. You
make a pick. I'm kind of feeling the Chris Olave pop on this one too. Travi, I know you picked him up in Dynasty. How do you feel about Olave in redrafts?
I'm going to be feeling a lot better if the Michael Thomas hamstring lingers. I'll tell you that much. It's something where I drafted Olave in my rookie draft. Thomas has kind of made this full comeback, we thought, and it was like, okay. And then they get Jarvis Landry, and it's like, okay, there's some target competition now, for real. But what I do know about Olave versus those other guys, at least what I would like to project, I guess I don't know for sure, is that he'll likely be the deep ball threat. So he should be the big play guy because that's not going to be Landry. It's probably not going to be Michael Thomas. It could be, but based on what we've seen in Thomas's career, I don't think so. And so that's kind of where I'm at with Olave. I think he can be the big play guy. And if we get Michael Thomas or Landry to miss time, Jameis could really, really, kind of pick up a thing here for Olave. I'm for it. He had a really nice touchdown against the Packers, our Packers in the preseason game that I was liking to see, other than it was against the Packers. So there's definitely some stuff there to be excited about.
I like that pick up there too. And Tony's bringing in a good point. Let me say Olave got sniped hard before I took Kirk. Kirk had a good day.
That's right. Your boy got him.
Talk to me a little on Kirk, Johnny. We've been excited about him. We haven't seen it. I think in this last game we got a little bit of a reason to maybe the Christian Kirk truthers are poking their head out of the bushes a little bit more.
Yeah. I was gonna ask you. You got a mouse in your pocket? Are you saying we over here? You've turned French? There was no we. I was always off Christian Kirk.
Of him? Well, I'm glad that you're coming around. Did you watch my take on the mock draft marathon when I gassed up Christian Kirk like a month ago?
I'm saying I didn't. I'm not on his bandwagon.
Oh, then welcome. What's going on?
I'm not on his bandwagon. I still think he's going to be not good.
Oh, I missed. Sorry. I saw Olave and then Kirk. You took him. You're flexing, taking Olave instead of Kirk. Okay, I got it. So you're not feeling Christian Kirk. You had a good week. It looks like him and Trevor Lawrence building up some rapport. You're not buying it.
No. You buy build up all.
You like you got a weird take. You like who did you like? It wasn't Zay Jones.
Zay Jones. Zay Jones, I think, will have a better season. I think people are going to be rushing to the waiver wire to get Zay Jones
coming out.
It's not like I'm saying that that I think that Christian Kirk is going to be absolutely not usable. I think he'll have.
Zay Jones is the dude,
huh?
You think Zay Jones is going to be the guy coming out of the slot, get more volume, have a bigger impact overall?
He's not coming out of the slot. He'll be on the outside. He'll be the alpha. He'll be the X wide receiver. Zay Jones, he was running the deep routes and stuff.
You think Zay Jones will be able to outdo his cornerbacks?
Yeah, Zay Jones was pretty good last year. I mean, relatively. I'm not saying he's like a breakout guy or like all of a sudden he's going to be 1,000-yard receiver. I just don't think that I'm not going to trust Jacksonville, who is most likely going to, like, there's so many conundrums there, and I'm not going to trust in Christian Kirk, who could barely get it done on the Cardinals offense. Like, he wasn't a surefire starter even on the Cardinals offense. And now I'm supposed to buy in on Jacksonville just because he got paid a bunch? Like, he
came off a career year last year.
Over 900 yards. And he had A.J. Green and DeAndre Hopkins ahead of him. Where are you at, Ahaan, on any of the pass catchers in Jacksonville? Are we targeting these or are we fading off?
Jaguars piss me off, man, because I have been a LaVisca supporter since day one. I was pushing agendas before they went crazy and got Evan Engram, Zay Jones, Christian Kirk. Now there are too many mouths to feed, and now I can't take this LaVisca agenda seriously anymore. I like Marvin Jones. He was a pretty solid player last year. I think people aren't talking enough about how good Marvin Jones was last year. There's just so many mouths to feed. It does help the offense in general. I think Trevor Lawrence takes a year or two leap, which is why I'm getting a lot of Travis Etienne, because he's going to get a lot of red zone opportunities. They're going to feed him the ball. And Trevor Lawrence, as bad as he was last year, he was checking down a lot. The check down rate will go down, obviously, but also so the red zone opportunities, all that balances out. I get Travis Etienne, who has more upside than his ADP suggests. Yeah. So I'm getting some Travis Etienne. But for the most part, I'm staying away from definitely Christian Kirk. I have probably 0% exposure on Christian Kirk. He's just not that guy. Like, we look at contracts and then we say that, because he got paid money. I mean, what happened to Kenny Golladay? Like, what are we doing here? Like, just because teams are stupid and pay players what they're not worth doesn't mean they're going to outdo their ADP. It's not how it works. You have to be good at football.
I don't care at all about how much money they got paid. I do think it suggests a point on who will get the first start at the opportunity. But payment aside, take it away. Just look at talent. There's not a lot of talent on the pass catching side for Jacksonville. We got Christian Kirk, we got Zay Jones, we got Marvin Jones. There's not a ton of talent over there.
Visca. And don't forget about Visca's got talent. They just don't put him on the field.
they might forget about Visca. Like they might cut him. Like he might be gone.
Here's the thing. I'll give you all some light trivia, and then I'll probably just tell you the answer. So
I like that.
There were 4 NFL wide receivers last year with at least 20% red zone target share and at least 4 yards after catch per target. So these are basically players that get red zone importance and can create after the catch. One of them was Cooper Kupp, the other was Jamar Chase, and there were 2 others. Can you name the others?
What was the qualifier?
Visca.
So 4 yards after catch per target and at least a 20% red zone target share. Cooper Kupp, Chase, I heard LaVisca, that's one of them.
Cortland Sutton, another one?
No, I don't. I'll give it a few seconds if anybody in the chat knows.
I'm trying to think of underneath. I can't think of the other one.
It was Chris Godwin. So
Chris Godwin. Okay.
Godwin, and all of them finished top 15. And then my boy LaVisca Chenault. I was pushing these agendas before they signed all these guys. The man is actually decent at football, guys.
I thought he was one of the better prospects to come out in a long time, and then they just, hasn't been the case so far. So I think what he probably needs now is a fresh start. Like get him on a new squad somewhere with some target availability, but I don't know if it's going to happen in Jacksonville.
Yeah, we're gonna have to freshen that whole thing up. But we freshened this mock draft up. We got this one all wrapped. Last pick taken TDP from Dirty Jersey 25. What up, Jersey J? So now what we're going to do is, as we do it, we'll have each member here, Johnny, Travis, myself, and Ahaan, break down our squads. Whisper Nation, you let us know how we did, and then the rest of the panel will grade the other person's team. We'll also have Ahaan take a look at the rest of the board and pick out a team that deserves a roast and or a toast. A team that stood out to him for either side. We'll give him a little bit of room to comment on. But we will ask him to select a winner. And if there's any other team that stood out, either particularly strong or particularly not strong, he's got the room to talk about that. But we'll go ahead and have Travi start us off. He selected last, so we'll have him speak first. He goes ahead in the 1-9 position, takes Cooper Kupp. Want to break it down for us, Big Travi?
Yeah, so Cooper Kupp was admittedly an auto draft. I was trying to figure out if I had the sound on my screen. I did not, but I did draft Cooper Kupp, which is fine. I think it's good value to get Cooper Kupp at 1-9. And maybe what we're seeing is a little bit of a little spooky ghost from the elbow of Matt Stafford. So we'll see what happens here. A.J. Brown was my second wide receiver in the 3rd. Then Amon-Ra St. Brown in the 5th. Kadarius Toney in the 8th, and George Pickens in the 9th. That rounded out my wide receiving core. Remember, in this roster, we're only starting 2, so I feel good about the depth I was able to accrue there with the wide receivers. At running back went Saquon Barkley in the 2nd. If you guys listened last week, you know Saquon Barkley's my dude this year, especially inside the top 100 at running back. Then Cam Akers in the 4th, Chase Edmonds in the 7th, and then some dart throws in Jamal Williams and Isaiah Spiller in the 11th and 12th. Got to wait till the 6th round to get Lamar Jackson. I think it's great value for Lamar, where we're getting him this year based off coming off the injury last year. Plus, on the preseason, man, against those Cardinals, man, he had the fro out. He had the glasses on, big old chain. He just looks like that dude right now. So I was excited to get Lamar Jackson here. We had Dawson Knox in the 10th. Shout out to Dawson Knox, and our hearts go out for the loss of his little brother there. He's returning to the team tomorrow, so hopefully Knox will be fired up and playing this season for his brother. And then we've got Irv Smith, just kind of a dart throw for like an athletic specimen here, and hopefully he can absorb some of the targets. Although if I had to make a bet, I think KJ Osborne's going to be the number 3 in that offense. I like this team. I think I just kind of picked value as it came. I don't particularly think like I'm over the moon about any position, but I think it's solid. And I think I got some upside swings late in Toney, Pickens, and Spiller and Smith. So, yeah.
The upside plays at the top of your draft, too. Johnny, how do you evaluate Travis' team?
Well, I think because he got, his boy Saquon Barkley, that's, his guy, in the 2nd round. I think that he did a good job. I think this is a playoff team. I think it's a playoff team. I think he stacked enough talent at the position. Got some good dart throws, and I think that this will be a playoff team.
What about you, Ahaan? We do championship contender in the playoffs, on the bubble, or outside looking in. How do you rank Travi's squad?
I'm not gonna lie. I love you, Travi. This was
do it to him.
This was my worst draft of this was my pick for worst draft.
Oh, no playing punches here, huh? You hate it.
Roast him. Roast him.
They're just like you can't take
go.
5 guys that I'm on heavy fade mode this year, and I don't give the award to you. I just can't.
Oh yes.
I'm very. I already feel
it's
bad.
all good.
No, don't feel
all
bad,
good.
dude.
Fired
Let
up.
me know. We're here to get better.
I can't handle Cam Akers in the 4th round. I can't do it. I love Lamar. So I like that pick. Amon-Ra is being overdrafted this year. Made a very short thread about him. People saying like he's going to play the Cooper Kupp role. Not true. Cooper Kupp, when he made that leap into becoming prominent, he still didn't finish as high as people are drafting him. He had a higher ceiling, and people are drafting him around that range that Amon-Ra is right now. It's a good offense. There are a lot of mouths to feed. It can't handle Amon-Ra that high. George Pickens, I drafted Claypool because I'm not buying into the George Pickens hype as much as other people are. I wanted George Pickens on the Patriots. He's a very good player, but there's too much going on in Pittsburgh. I can't take George Pickens there. Irv Smith, I'm just not on the Irv Smith train at all. It's wide receiver for me there. I think KJ Osborne is going to be a big part of the offense. Kevin O'Connell goes there. 3 wide receiver sets, run it up. Irv Smith hasn't proven enough to me. And then Chase Edmonds, you guys were talking about Chase Edmonds in Miami and you liking Chase Edmonds. I'm not getting any Chase Edmonds because I simply wait for the guy who's actually had 200 plus carries multiple seasons, and I wait for Sony Michel. Chase Edmonds has only had a few games in his career where he gets most of the snap share. Getting most of the snap share in the NFL, the running back position, that's so important because we don't know if Mike McDaniel is just going to throw out Chase Edmonds there for 80% of the snaps, 90% of the snaps. We don't know that. He hasn't proven that he can do that for even half a season, let alone a full season. Sony Michel can be a workhorse there. If they split the carries, Edmonds and Michel, not even considering Raheem Mostert, possibilities with Raheem Mostert, I'm waiting for the value on Sony Michel there. So for all those reasons, Trav, I'm sorry.
I love this one.
Yeah,
well, thanks for coming on, and we'll see you next time. I appreciate it, man. It's actually you had valid points to everything you said there. Yeah. I think that Edmonds is a risk, but I think that the upside based on the contract, his pass catching prowess, and the offense as a whole. Now, I will agree with you that I think Sony Michel is probably a good value later as well. But I'm really in on he's an explosive back. They paid him, I think, about the 12th most in total cash among running backs. And I know you said you don't care about contracts, but they ran out to get Chase Edmonds. It's one of the first signings they went to do. And I know all the noise has been later since then, but they've stacked what Rich Rebar, Austin, we've been talking about as a Madden roster. Mm-hmm. And I kind of want the guy who's going to, score big plays in an offense. San Francisco has been very top in plays over 20 plus yards. So just a little bit of pushback on Edmonds, but I think the rest of them, there is concern about Amon-Ra St. Brown's target competition this year versus when he went off last year. And Akers, I'll be the first to admit that I think I do look at my team and you'd be like week 3 and Barkley's hurt and Akers hurt. And I'm like, okay, what the hell am I doing here? But
I think, you're taking Edmonds there in the 7th makes me think of my postseason fantasy football journal entry like 6, 7, 8 years ago when I wrote taking the lead back in a committee in rounds 2 through 4 is a heavy risk, but taking the lead back in a committee in rounds 5 through 7 is probably worth it. If I'm drafting a Miami running back in round 7, I'm just hoping I get the guy. If it ends up being Sony Michel, shit, I grabbed the wrong dude. But I think, Travi, you taking a stab at who the lead dog is in that spot isn't a bad pick. You are swinging for it, and both of your points, I think, stand here. Travi, for my evaluation, you're on the bubble, and it kind of incorporates a lot of things that are said. I see the upside in all of these picks. Saquon, Amon-Ra St. Brown, if this dude gets 100 catches, which he could do, that's going to be really nice. He also might get like less than 80 because the other competition, then it's not so good. So I see it on both sides there. Akers, if he's leading a high-powered offense, great. If he's not, so it's an on-the-bubble team for me. I love that you swung for the ceiling. I think that's what you should do. Ride that roller coaster as it comes, Travi. You could be winning it all. You could be competing in the contention bowl or whatever they call it. All right, moving on here. The next one, Ahaan, you drafted out of the 5 spot. Break it down for us.
Yes, I'm pretty happy with starting off just the start of Austin Eckler and Mike Evans and Travis Etienne, DK Metcalf. No snipes until then, which is I'm very fine with. I think those first 4 picks, there's really not much to explain. Eckler, I feel like, is arguably the safest floor among the first round running backs. You can make an argument for that. Arguably the safest floor. Mike Evans, clear number 1 guy there. Like I've been an anti-Mike Evans as a football player guy for a long time. Not to say that he's not great at what he does, but I've just been, like, as a football fan, anti-Mike Evans. But even I can't not take Mike Evans, who has a chance to be a top 5 wide receiver this year. You got to take him there. Travis Etienne, we just talked about him. DK Metcalf, if anybody follows me on Twitter, you know what I feel about this guy. Just look at my Twitter banner. This guy,
I love it. DK was one of my favorites, dude. I love him. I love it.
This guy's an alpha. He's proven it each year that he can get better. He's gotten better route running. He's gotten better. Basically everything. The Seahawks just don't utilize him well enough, which is why the cost is where it is. And with the quarterback downgrade, still, Drew Lock's going to be the starter there. And Drew Lock is slightly better than people think. And he may not always know where the ball is going, but he was 4th in the NFL in air yards just a couple of years ago when he was starting regularly. More than Patrick Mahomes, more than Lamar Jackson, more than Justin Herbert, etc. So he will air it out. And if you watch him, listen to him on the sidelines, he exudes confidence, and he has no problem saying after a game, I aired it out because I felt like he was open. And you can do that with DK Metcalf. Russell Wilson did that a lot, just throwing it up to DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf will be fine in this offense. He's going a little too low. Antonio Gibson, putting my money where my mouth is. Just Antonio Gibson should not be going that low. And then I just kind of stocked up on wide receivers that, I pushed agendas for. Juju, in a way, maybe a little more refined than people think. I think people just like to hate on Juju for obvious reasons, but it's Patrick Mahomes. He's going to be the number 1 wide receiver there. Devontae Smith, I just had a thread on Twitter about Devontae Smith a few days ago. Devontae Smith is going to be that number 2 wide receiver that's going to be a lot closer to the number 1 there than people think. AJ Brown's still the alpha, but Devontae Smith's going to be closer than people think. Zach Ertz, one of the steals at tight end this year, don't understand the ADP. And then, like I said, I believe in Chase Claypool. And then finally, you wait till the 10th round and you get Tom Brady. How beautiful is that? Stacked him up with Mike Evans. And then Marlon Mack is just a statement that I don't think Dameon Pierce is that guy. That's basically all it is. Dameon Pierce is not good. I don't care about the preseason.
Dude. Not good.
Dude.
Dameon Pierce is
Ahaan
not good.
coming in here throwing some shade.
Based on what? Just college production?
I'm coming from an analytics mind. I spent all summer building the Breakout Finder for Player Profiler, and the Breakout Finder thinks that there's a very low chance that Dameon Pierce is that guy in the NFL. If you want to read about it, it's on my Twitter.
I do.
Yeah.
I like Dameon Pierce. So this is interesting.
Yeah,
Good.
Dameon Pierce, he's never commanded targets. He's never been a workhorse. And, of course, some of that is situation-wise. But given his entire profile, all the metrics with the touchdown share, with the yards per carry, given all the 12 metrics that we use to predict breakouts in the NFL, Dameon Pierce would be a generational outlier if he is a dog in the NFL. Like,
can you speak to any one of the major specific? Those are strong words. Can you speak to any of the specific metrics you're referencing in this? Of what makes it such an outlier?
So to predict running back breakouts, so it turns out what's most important. Obviously, draft capital is the number 1. It makes a lot of sense. I mean, if you'll go higher in the draft if your metrics are better. Best season touchdown share is the number 1 metric that predicts running back breakouts. We took data from the last 15 years of running back data from college metrics, and you predict how much of that goes into a breakout season in the NFL, which we define as 1,000-yard season or 200-plus fantasy points. Receiver rating, this dude has never been a utilized as a receiver. There's no evidence that he has any receiving ability at the NFL level. Level of competition, he did not rank high. He did not stand out as somebody who was going up against a lot of competition. Breakout age, ranks mediocre in that area. Weight, mediocre. 40 time, mediocre. Best season, yards per carry, below average. These are the top metrics. And in all of these, he was not an alpha in any of these metrics. So
dude,
if Dameon Pierce
just tearing down our dog, dude.
He would need just like opportunity. He's just going to be like, he's going to be a Jag is basically what you're
Right,
looking at.
unless-
and you don't think he's going to get the opportunity because of Marlon Mack.
Right. And people are saying in the comments, Chris Carson, who was a 7th round pick and a dog when healthy. Chris Carson put his life on the line every day in a system that let him put his life on the line. That's an exception right there. And Dameon Pierce would be an even bigger exception because his college metrics are way more unimpressive than Chris Carson's.
Interesting take. Okay, so you got Marlon Mack there. Appreciate you breaking that down. Like, legitimately. This is going to be a fun thing to keep an eye on moving forward. Good take. Well documented. You did the work. You speak on that. Okay, so then Marlon Mack, and then you round it out here with Myers and Derek Carr, your boy.
So Derek Carr was an auto pick, but I'm actually fine with Derek Carr. I think Derek Carr, I pushed the Derek Carr over Aaron Rodgers for fantasy football this year agenda a lot on Twitter. I think he's a good pick. That doesn't mean I don't think the Raiders might win 5 games, but for fantasy football, I'm fine with Derek Carr.
All right, there you got it. Travi, how are you seeing your best friend Ahaan over here?
Oh, man. Yeah, I don't like you very much right now, Ahaan. No, just kidding. I think your team's actually pretty good. I wanted to come in and throw some venom at you, but I like it. I'm not as strongly like planted on Devonta Smith as you are, hence I took AJ Brown. I also think Goddard's somebody that is probably going to be slept on a little bit more in the Eagles passing attack. But there is a world where this passing attack actually takes a step forward and they throw a ton. We saw them want to do that at the start of the year. So I think you have outs with Smith. I think Juju Smith-Schuster is a really nice pick just based on all the noise coming out of the Chiefs camp. You think that Smith-Schuster is a good one. Ertz, solid. If you're going to take a mid-round tight end, the volume should be there, especially for the first 6 games. Brady, I think, is a guy that should be faded a little bit more, but where you got him in the 10th. So I think that was good value. You know what I mean? Like, so as long as he just comes back to play football, I'm not buying into that he's about to, retire or anything like that. I think that's a little bit wild, but I can't agree with you with Marlon Mack. I think Dameon Pierce is a dude compared to the other dudes on that roster. And I think the Texans agree with that. And I think Lovie Smith's track record shows that if they like him, he'll get the opportunity. And the biggest thing, for an old school coach like Lovie Smith, we've seen some good pass blocking out of Dameon Pierce within, the offseason and the preseason. So I'm in on Dameon Pierce getting all the shots in the world. And I Marlon Mack being, speaking of Jag and Dusty, that's kind of where I feel with that. But I do think this team's a playoff team. I think you have it at every level. I don't see any real weaknesses in this. It's deep. It's got some good bang for the buck. Eckler's obviously good upside. I don't know if I agree with you with Gibson, but he's your 3rd running back. You're only starting 2, so I could be fine with that.
Travis got him in the playoffs, Johnny.
Lack of malicious intent on the review.
I got you.
What about you, Johnny? What's your ranking for Ahaan's team?
Yeah, I got him in the playoffs. I think he has a really good team, like Travis said, breaking it down. I think it's deep, well balanced, and I think he took the right swings when he needed to for like Ertz and Tom Brady and Carr. So yeah, I think this is a good playoff team.
Well, cool. Give that microphone cord a little wiggle, Johnny. It's coming in a little bit light. I am in agreement. If you think Eckler and ETN, you need them to produce at least RB2, high RB2 levels. But if you get that, which there's not a lot of logic suggesting you won't, this team is going to do really well. I love the Evans and Metcalf stack. I think you could have 2 top 5 wide receivers this year, and I don't think that's that crazy of a statement. Juju Smith-Schuster, where you picked him up, like Juju Smith-Schuster, for me, Amari Cooper, Elijah Moore are kind of like right in this camp, and I like the Juju Smith-Schuster pickup there. As you said, Ertz is a great sleeping tight end where you got him to. Yeah, I think this team is in the playoffs. I think it's pretty solid in that position there. Moving over now to Johnny. Give us a breakdown here.
All right, I took Jamar Chase at the 104. I haven't taken very much Jamar Chase, so I wanted to kind of switch it up a little bit. Then took Javonte Williams in second, T. Higgins in the third, so stacked up the Bengals receivers. Cortland Sutton in the fourth, Dalton Schultz in the fifth. Then I grabbed Joe Burrow to get that stack there. Then took Penny in the seventh, Chris Olave in the eighth, Melvin Gordon. Then I got White, and then Mike Gesicki in the 11th, Williams, Jameson Williams for Detroit in the 12th, and then Zamir White in the 13th. That's my team.
I can read. How do you feel about it, Johnny?
Well, the listeners need to know what my team was. I like this team. I think it was a little bit different build for me, but I wanted to try to do something different and get a little bit different players, while still like kind of going upside. So the hardest pick for me, honestly, was like taking Joe Burrow over Kyler Murray or Hurts.
Yeah,
but I was like,
do that?
Because I wanted the stack. It was like purposeful because I wanted the stack. So
he's having fun.
Yeah, I mean, it could be fun on those weeks where they explode for like 450 yards and 4 tutties. Like
terrible on the weeks when they give the ball.
I'm not losing that week,
25 times.
Kyler
Murray goes off,
dude. Hey, I'm not losing that week. So that's my team. I think it's good. I think it's a solid team. I don't think it's like I don't think it's gonna like be a championship contender, but for the goal that I set out, I think I drafted well.
What do you think,
Yeah,
Travis?
I also don't think it's a championship contender. I think it's probably a bubble team. I think a lot hinges. I mean, this team has contender upside. Like, don't get it twisted. Like, this team could absolutely smash Sutton, Higgins, Chase, and Javonte. Like in the first 4 picks, it could go ballistic. I have concerns. 1, that Zach Taylor is a good play caller. 2, that they're going to throw a ton all year long. They've got some shootouts on the schedule, but I just hope that they're going to be one of the next prolific, like Dallas, Tampa Bay, Buffalo offenses that throw, because they have the weapons to do it. And if they do that, then this team is going to go nuclear. But I am not sold 100% they do that. And it's a lot of investment in a lot of high capital roster positions on that bet. So I think it's a big swing for upside. It's probably a bubble team. I love Dalton Schultz volume. I don't know if I love Dalton Schultz as a tight end, but that's kind of a personal thing. You did take some upside with Gesicki later. You handcuffed your hero RB with Melvin Gordon. I mean, there might be weeks, just given Penny's health and White being both the Whites maybe being buried on depth charts, that you're starting Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams. So yeah, that's a high investment on those two. So we'll see what happens. But I do think it's a bubble team, and I do think it's got for sure got contender in its upside.
What do you think about you? What about you, Juan?
I like this team. I also think it's bubble. And here's the thing. I agree with Trav on the whole Bengals situation. Zach Taylor, I watched him lose a Super Bowl because he wanted to run Joe Mixon to the ground and send out Samaje Perine with the season on the line. So I agree with Trav on that point, which is why Jamar Chase is my wide receiver 4, Diggs at 3. So I see the risk with that. I also think it's a beta move to roster your own handcuff. I'm lower than ADP on Javonte Williams and higher than ADP on Melvin Gordon. That was a snipe when I took Claypool. I wanted Melvin Gordon there. So congrats, you sniped me, but you also are rostering your own handcuff, which I'm not a fan of. But other than that, individual picks wise, this is great. I actually like stacking Burrow with Higgins. Even if not, necessarily the super stack with Chase. Penny, I also am not the biggest fan of Kenneth Walker, and he's dealing with injury concerns. So I think Penny was a really nice pick. He really shouldn't be, given the information we have, in the RB dead zone anymore. Right. Leonard Fournette, there's always risk with him. So Rashad White in the 10th round, just like Tom Brady in the 10th round, I think that's value. And obviously, y'all know how much I love Jameson Williams. So I think this is a really solid draft, but, don't be a beta and roster your own handcuff. That's my only complaint.
What if the handcuff is one where it has some of its own standing value and you don't reach?
Yeah.
I like Melvin Gordon at ADP. Like I think.
Would you rather? Should he have taken Miles Sanders there instead?
No,
James Robinson. Who would you have liked instead on that pick?
I probably would have maybe reached on Kenneth Gainwell actually because I'm Miles Sanders is disgusting. I love Kenneth Gainwell.
Okay.
Or I would have taken a receiver. But I also love Melvin Gordon. So I can't. I think I'm complaining more about getting Javonte in the second round because I don't think he's going to live up to his ADP. Than I'm complaining about Melvin Gordon. Although they tie hand in hand because I don't like rostering my own handcuff. But it's a mix of both because I love Melvin this year.
I get
okay.
Yeah. I get.
Well, I am somebody on the other side. My position on handcuffs has taken a lot of turns over throughout the years, and where it currently sits is if you have a 1-for-1 and you don't reach, and if that guy does have some extra value, it can end up being a smart pickup for you. It can end up being a really valuable insurance policy that you're not actually paying anything for because it does have standalone value. But it's a very rare situation, I think, when those actually do kind of work out. I'm on the bubble with it here too, Johnny. And I think you had fun on this one here too. Like Kyler Murray, I'm taking over Joe Burrow, but you got Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, and Jamar Chase. Like you got the Bengals, man. Like this is just a fun squad. I love the Cortland Sutton share. I think it's climbing up, and the Olave pick there is nice too. I'm going to be the last one now, breaking it down here before Ahaan gives us his favorite team out of the draft. Took CMC 101. Scared about that health, but that's football, baby. Coming in the backside, I was really curious about that 2-3 turn. That's actually why I went in the 101 spot. And I was hoping that Mark Andrews fell because I really like Mark Andrews coming this season, but Kyle Pitts is right there with me. And as much gap as you see between Kelsey, relatively speaking, and Andrews Pitts, I'm kind of getting turned on to the idea of taking one of these other two difference makers at the tight end position. And so I was happy to get one of them there at the fall. The bigger question was what other receiver or running back was I going to take? I thought about ETN. I thought it was too early there to go in on Breece Hall. And so I was really looking then at the wide receivers. It was between Tyreek Hill, Deebo Samuel, Michael Pittman, or A.J. Brown. I wanted to get a guy who I thought could be the main vein through the passing attack. And they all have question marks, which is why they're all available end of the second, third round. I went with Tyreek Hill. I do have a soft spot for the man, but I am really liking what I'm seeing him come out of camp with. I like his play style. I like the offense that he's on. I had no problem with taking him in the second round. And Jalen Waddle then falling there into the fourth. There is a lot of positive statistics saying having two wide receivers on the same team, it's not a problem at all. And if anything does happen, then you're in even more primed position. So like Hill and Waddle, I think are kind of slept on as one of those wide receiver duos that could both finish in the top 15. And I was stoked to pick up Waddle there in the fourth. It's just fun for me. And I think it does have some statistical advantages as well as some insurance policy advantages there too. AJ Dillon climbing up. We had the 1A comment today. I'm all right with him there as my second running back. Jalen Hurts fell in the sixth. I'm happy about that. Just taking a look at the running backs, Kenneth Walker, Cook, Algier, 3 rookies. I'm hoping one of them can be a serviceable third running back or a flex spot. Amari Cooper there is the third wide receiver, and then Garrett Wilson, Christian Watson as a couple of rookie wide receivers taken at the end of the draft. Wilson could be a real role there for the Jets after a couple of weeks. Watson, less likely, but he does bring stratospheric upside. He's playing behind the back-to-back MVP without a clear-cut number one wide receiver in Green Bay. Christian Watson's big. He's fast. He's got physical dominance. Does he make it happen? Probably not this year, but in the 12th round, I'll take a swing for that. And then Justin Fields is just another quarterback upside play. That's my team.
I like your first 6 picks. I could get nitpicky and say I don't really like going both the wide receivers. But Jalen Waddle showed us like he's a dog. We know Tyreek Hill is a dude. And if the team can take a step, then that's going to be some concentrated targets. So you might just, but I think as far as like the stud meter of your first 6 picks, like they're all legit talent wise. I think they're all legit opportunity wise. I think for me, it's a playoff team. I have some issues with your bench. I'm not huge on Amari Cooper with 11 games of Brissett. That scares me a little bit. Ken Walker, I don't know when he's coming back. I don't know if we'll know when he's coming back.
It's scary, right?
Yeah, it's scary.
I'm
I like
glad
James
I
Cook.
didn't take him in Dynasty. I'm so glad.
I like James Cook here. I think that's a late dart throw. He's shown some juice. Garrett Wilson's one that I think we're kind of overcorrecting because we see Elijah Moore, we see these other wide receivers, but he was a very highly touted wide receiver that could have some pop down the stretch, maybe a post-by rookie bump. Yeah, I mean, I think this team's a playoff team, but I think it's a very shaky, it's very top heavy. You know, something goes wrong with some of your starters here, you could be in trouble. But I think other than that, I'm into it.
Yeah, I would say a bubble team for me. I like the first 6 picks, but then I think your depth is like not great. And yeah, like I'm not sold on Amari Cooper. Garrett Wilson, like Travis said, could be, but I'm more on Elijah Moore. I don't know if that offense, I don't know if elite Joe Flacco can support 2 wide receivers. So, and then Tyreek Hill and Waddle. Not only are you expecting, like, I don't know, not only does Miami have to meet expectations, but then doing it week in and week out, there might be some struggles. There, like you might have some really good weeks, but then some really bad weeks. So yeah, I think it'll be ultimately on the bubble for me.
What about you, Ahaan?
Yeah, I like most of this team. I also think it's a bubble team. I think we're all on the same page that Amari Cooper shouldn't be going that high. I would personally take Elijah Moore, Devontae Smith, Treylon Burks, Brandon Ayuk, and Adam Thielen, and maybe Chris Olave if I'm feeling bold, all over Amari Cooper.
Why?
I don't know if a run first offense run by Jacoby Brissett is going to, I mean, when Amari Cooper was already, not necessarily, not elite up to like, he wasn't hitting ADP with Dak Prescott.
Right.
He's not going to hit this ADP.
Right.
With 11 games of Jacoby Brissett. It's the simplest way to put it. But I will say, I love the rookie branding here. I absolutely love taking rookies because so many of them are steals. Somebody that didn't get drafted, Alec Pierce. You were asking about rookies earlier. Alec Pierce, kind of similar to Christian Watson, is super athletic. And he's in that Colts offense that I like a lot as well. Just wanted to mention Alec Pierce, but I do like Christian Watson in the struggle of figuring out who is going to be that guy in Green Bay this year. Also, Tyler Algier. I've been pushing a lot of Tyler Algier agendas this year. This man is good, and the only thing that's going against him is he's on the Falcons. If Cordero Patterson is running routes, there's not that many options in Atlanta to play the running back position. Damian Williams is not good. Tyler Algier was very good in college. The breakout finder, docks him for being a 5th-round pick, but his overall metrics were pretty damn good and beat out Dameon Pierce in most college metrics. So I like Tyler Algier a lot, and of course he's on the Falcons, but the price reflects it, so I love that pick. Garrett Wilson's an absolute stud. I love Elijah Morris. I think Garrett Wilson takes a year to settle in, but it was a dart throw, and I like it. And I like this overall team, and Jalen Hurts upside to be a top 3 quarterback this year. So love that as well.
Well, Whisper Nation, there you have the breakdowns from all of us and the panel. Let us know which team you like the most out of the 4 panelists. But now I want to know which of the remaining teams Ahaan here likes the most. Who gets the toast for you with a team that's not on the panel? Travi got that roast. We all loved it.
Yeah.
Now who gets the toast from you? Somebody not on the panel. Somebody in Whisper Nation.
So I think this guy's in the chat as well. So at the turn, I've been liking going at the turn a lot at 112 in underdog drafts myself, and I'll give it the toast. I think.
Oh, Jersey
J.
I think this team is top to bottom. Just a lot of selections that I would make. Stephon Diggs already said he's my wide receiver 3 ahead of Chase, so I love Stephon Diggs there. Najee Harris has potential even in a mediocre or below average quarterback situation. Love Najee. He's that dog. I think people are concerned with volume implying injuries. Like, we need to stop with this whole, like, in the early rounds, you should go for the guy that won't get injured. You're not going to be able to predict which workhorse running back is going to miss games. That's why you go for points per game. Justin Herbert, you can't argue with that. Rashad Bateman, obviously his ADP went up with Marquise Brown getting traded, but it should be higher than that. Rashad Bateman is very good at football, and I made a controversial statement a long time ago saying Rashad Bateman was overall, as a football player, better than Marquise Brown. That's still up in the air. but I think that has the potential to be true this year. So I love Rashad Bateman there. Deontay Johnson continues to be just underrated with Ben Roethlisberger throwing the little junk balls in the middle. He was without even racking up yards. He was getting the PPR points, half PPR league. Again, a mediocre quarterback, a below average quarterback situation. It's fine. Deontay Johnson's still going to eat. Dallas Goedert, I think Trav mentioned him earlier. Dallas Goedert's going to be an integral part of that offense. I agree. Where I lost this draft just a little was Nyheim Hines and Hunter Renfrow. I think they're being overdrafted a little bit. But then you fixed it right back with a few guys that I'm very high on this year, Russell Gage, Jalen Tolbert, and Tyrion Davis-Price, speaking of the breakout finder, rated him really well. He had the lowest receiver rating of the class, overall judgment of how good you were as a receiver in college, and still finished as a top 10 breakout finder rating running back of the class. That shows you how good he was in all the other metrics. And he lands in San Francisco, where Kyle Shanahan loves to switch up who his number one running back here is every year.
Yep.
And I love Tyrion Davis-Price at that price. So love this draft overall.
There you go, Jersey J.
There you go, Dirty Jersey J.
Yeah, let's
clapping
go.
it out and clapping it out for everybody here who dropped alongside of us. Albert M1218, Mr. Mystiques, Brocal, Nemo Tree, Smitty Satau, Donflict, of course, Reed Tyler, and the winner of this draft, Dirty Jersey J. Love you guys. It has been a treat. And Ahaan, man, thanks for so much coming on the show, sharing some of your insights, sharing some of the work that you've been getting going over with Player Profiler. Can you let Whisper Nation know where they can find you, what they should keep an eye out for, and if you've been working on anything that we should stay tuned for?
Yeah, so first off, really appreciate y'all having me on. It's an honor to be here.
Thanks, Ahaan.
Yeah, and my bad if I got aggressive on some of these takes.
Not at all.
I've been spending this entire summer evaluating rookie running backs and wide receivers. So if I have an analytically based take, blame the math.
I love it.
But yeah, I'll be. So I've, the folks at Player Profile are doing an awesome job. The analytics department with Dario Offstein, who I worked with a lot this summer, staying over on the analytics side. I'm switching over to betting, and I will be covering weekly player props for the NFL. If you play on Underdog, if you play on other DFS sites, or if you have Caesar Sportsbook, you can bet on player props, which are very profitable. And I'll be writing a weekly section on which over-unders I'm taking on the player prop market, and I'll be publishing all that work on Player Profiler and my Twitter, which is on the screen at Ahaan Rungta.
Love it, dude.
Yeah.
Go follow him.
Spitting the fire.
You got information there in the description of the video. Check it out, Whisper Nation. Well, Ahaan, thank you so much again for coming on the show. Thanks for the knowledge. Thanks for the strong takes. Love to have you back anytime to bring that fire. On behalf of Big Travie, that's Johnny Game Time Hicks, I'm Austin Sear. We're the Fantasy Whispers. We're out. Peace.
Right here.
Hey, do you like mock drafts? We do too. You can come back every Monday and mock with us. Check out one of